Believe it or not, getting this opportunity had me filled with excitement, but there was a tinge of trepidation. As we got closer, the skies almost seemed to be dancing with delight over what was going to happen, but landing in Barrow kind of brought me back down to earth. You see, Barrow by most people's standards is in the middle of nowhere, and Point Lay is even further out than that. The plane ride to Point Lay has as many provisions as it does human guests. Now, I've worked in a lot of native villages, but never in a Inupiat village, so I didn't know what to expect. How would these people feel about an outsider coming into their town? As we flew over the area that many people consider the birthplace of the Inupiat, I could really see firsthand how the ocean, how the land, and how the weather have shaped their culture. Touching down in Point Lay, we're met by villagers who are there to help unload provisions from the plane. You see, by air and barge are the only ways to get things into Point Lay. And when I get a chance to check out my new digs, not bad.
Yeah, nice.
Point Lay is on the shores of the Chukchi Sea, and it's the kind of town where VHF communication is still commonplace.
Thank you, love you.
Thankfully, the bunkhouse had enough reminders of home that soon I was feeling relaxed and striking up conversation.
Did you get to know him?
A little bit, yeah.
How did...
Preparations for the Nalukataq began just after I arrived, and the successful Captain Julius Rexford there in the gray was overseeing every piece of the operation. His brother Delbert was also part of his successful crew, and he's overseeing the placement of the dead man, which is a heavy weight that you tie ropes to that lead to the blanket. The kids had never seen anything like it, but realistically neither had the town, at least in the last 7 decades. Soon friends and family members from other villages were arriving to join in. The kids, surprisingly, not shy of cameras.
2, 3.
Hi, Ingrid.
The blanket to be used is made of real bearded seal skin on loan from the people of Barrow. And while the villagers take a mid-evening break, I head back to camp to gather my thoughts.
We all just got back from town square. Everyone's getting set up. They're getting all these weights pulled out so that they can then tie it tight and use it to launch the people up. And in about an hour, we're going to do a test launch, so we're going to find out what that's like. It's about 9:30 at night. Of course, the sun far from going down. It's going to be a late night. One of the big elements of this thing really is the community. It's not just the community of Point Lay, but there's people coming from other villages. There's relatives coming in from out of town. So there's a lot of hugs. There's a lot of handshakes, a lot of smiles going on. So there's a big sense of camaraderie going around in this village right now. And a village of about 250 starting to swell and swell and swell.
Woo! Woo! Captain Thomas of the Nalukataq crew there on your left joins in. If it wasn't for his crew, the Odcon crew likely would have failed. As the leader of the successful Odcon crew, Julius is paying attention to every detail. And he's what you would call the strong but silent type.
What do you think, Julius? You think it's going to work?
Oh, yeah.
And?
You going to go first?
No.
Now, honestly, I figured people just held onto a blanket and tossed people into the air. But there's a little bit more to it than that. There are 4 crossbars that have rope attached to the dead man that are then dug in and help provide lifting tension for the blanket.
Oh, Henry! I'll fall it over the horse.
Kids playing around are shooed away by Delbert. He wants to make sure everything is just right. A little more tension here, a little less there, and of course Julius keeping a watchful eye the entire time. As I'm sure went on during the whale hunt, brothers Julius and Delbert are discussing how to make things work the most effectively. And then the time came for a little test. John volunteers to be the first guinea pig.
2, 3.
When the balance proves a little off, Captain Thomas steps in and leads his men.
Now we're just a little bit above.
A tiny villager offered his assistance, but paperwork not really his forte. Pretty soon, many more villagers are lending a hand, and things are getting close. And meanwhile, back at the homestead,
What are we cooking?
don't know why I said that. I have no idea what it tastes like. But I do know that it's pervasive in Inupiat culture. You can cook it, you can have it raw, you can have it fermented, or frozen in an underground cellar, the permafrost keeping it cold year-round.
I broke my ankle 1 year too.
I start hearing stories about injuries sustained at Nalukataq's and Barrow over the years, and I'm starting to get a little nervous, but no time for that. As John approaches the blanket, a cry goes out that I'm sure was quite familiar to the men on the hunt. All hands.
1, 2, 3, go!
John still isn't sure, but he's sure he wants more hands.
Come on!
And then, the moment of truth. And I'm pretty sure the hope that the third time's a charm is pretty much cross-cultural. John is pretty happy, but there was still one problem. Upon landing, his foot touched the ground, so they decided to dig a pit to give them a little bit more fudge room. The next in line has balance issues too. So there's more discussions, and a tiny little stranger comes to check out what that crazy man with the camera is doing.
Hi!
More tension is added, and some pretty fashionable villagers begin showing up.
Hi!
Smile.
1, 2, 3, go!
Things are starting to look up, so the ladies join in for one. Or two.
Look over!
Okay, 3. A few last-minute adjustments, and people are feeling good about tomorrow.
Ready for tomorrow now.
The sun doesn't really set this time of year, but I do know it is time to head back, get some sleep, before witnessing history being made tomorrow.
Well, believe it or not, it's this sunny, it's this bright, but it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. Took about 5 tries to get the thing calibrated. We finally got it done. Gonna have to set up the windscreen, and then tomorrow we'll get it all put into place, and it'll be blanket toss time.
Of course, lying in bed and falling asleep, well, they're two separate events.